Hello, friends. So we have a special one for you guys today. Expedition. A lot of folks did not play Expedition last league. I don't blame you. We got a lot of folks that are playing now and they don't know all of the subtle intricacies that it comes to running Expedition. It's not very hard. It is very rewarding. I made 90 exalts in 2 days last week running Expedition, and I want to share that with you guys. It is so profitable if you know how to run it in the right way. And we have a special guest today with someone who absolutely has been a die-hard Expedition zealot since day one last league, and I want to get his knowledge out there for you guys, and he is eager to share it. So let's get right into it because this is going to be a chunky one, and let's not delay any of that learning. All right, so today I've got a guest who happens to be a rabid Expedition enthusiast here today to give some perspective on Expedition and getting around it, and hopefully to save my voice a bit because this one might go a little long. This is sailKite.
Hey everyone!
Who is one of the goofy nerds who hangs out in Twitch chat and on our Discord helping people out. He's been singing the praises of Expedition, honestly, since day one. And he's been bugging me about doing a guide like this for a while.
Yes, I have!
All right, so we do have a lot of information from the previous video. We recommend taking a look at that one if you haven't already. It's got a lot of useful information as a starting place and will help with understanding some of what we're going to cover here.
Yep, so let's go ahead and just kind of talk about general things that we're going to be doing outside of maps and logbooks to get our drops going. So first we've got our Scarabs, right? These are kind of the big thing that you'll want to invest in initially. There are obviously 4 Scarabs each. We have Rusted Scarabs. Area contains an additional expedition encounter. Essentially, this just means that you're guaranteed an expedition, right, no matter what. So at the bare minimum, you will want to invest in these. Next up, you have Polished. The area contains 25% increased number of runic monster markers and 20% increased number of explosives. These are effectively multipliers, in fact, in addition to, of course, already guaranteeing the expedition encounter. Basically, runic monsters are the big deal, right? Everything that we're going to be doing in map expeditions is centered around runic monster markers, and this just gives us more of them. Not to mention, it also lets us have more explosives to play with, and therefore, maybe get better remnant chains or just hit more of those markers. I actually think polished are the real deal when it comes to bang for your buck. Gilded, these just bump up the number of runic monster markers that are increased from 25 to 50. It is actually still worth it in certain situations depending on the price, but they aren't strictly necessary, so you can kind of skip over these if you want to. Lastly, we have Winged. These add in the extra property that remnants in the area have an additional suffix. Now, as we look at Atlas passives, you'll see that in fact, we already get some of that, but these guarantee it. So it does help kind of, on average, to bring up the total value that you're getting out of an individual map. Now, no matter what, using a Scarab guarantees that we get an expedition encounter in the map. So even just using a Rusted Scarab will get us some value. In my opinion, especially if you're running map layouts that are somewhat sketchy or disorganized, polished Scarabs are definitely worth the small price increase for the benefits that you get out of them. Essentially, better placement options. Runic monster markers are the most important thing for us in map expeditions, and the extra explosives just really help us get that extra range and coverage. Gilded and Wings, again, these are kind of a more complex question. Gilded only gives you a little bit more runic monster markers. So while the value might not seem like the best, every single marker that we get does roll another chance at a logbook. And that's really what we're going for. So if you kind of want to try out and see what you prefer, definitely pick up a few. They're not actually that much more expensive on average than polished. I'm going to be honest, I don't actually think they're worth it, but if you really like seeing lots of juicy remnants, feel free to grab a couple. They're not the most expensive winged scarab in the world. For Watchstones, we do only want Platinum Lyra Arthane Watchstones. These start at around 25 chaos right now, but that price probably is going to be increasing as it seems that interest in Expedition has been on the rise, in fact, from multiple content creators in the PoE community. We have 3 options for Expedition prefix mods. Archaeologists, which grants us increased quantity of artifacts dropped by monsters. Explosive, which grants us increased explosive placement range in areas. And Gamblers, which grants increased quantity of vendor refresh currencies dropped by monsters in areas. Of course, we're mostly interested here in Archaeologists and Gamblers, Explosives are already pretty powerful by default, and the bonuses that we get from Scarabs and from Atlas passives generally mean that we have good coverage overall. So mostly we're looking at kind of artifacts and refresh currencies. Uh, a top-rolled Archaeologist stone costs probably around 70 chaos to buy outright, or just over 40 chaos to roll on average. Given that the base cost of a Watchstone is around 25 chaos or a little more, they're roughly equal to buy versus to craft. Gamblers are a different story. A top tier roll is going to cost you over 2 exalts to buy off the market, maybe even 2.5 or 3, as you know, if people start really buying these up, or around 200 chaos to craft. So generally, you'd want to craft these, but please bear in mind that the crafting costs may vary quite a bit, as the weighting to hit the tier 1 roll is less than 0.1%. So there's quite a broad range of variance in terms of how quickly you'll hit these. If you intend to use most of your vendor currencies, we actually recommend that you have a couple backup watchstones for archaeologists, because artifacts are no longer tradable. This means that you're pretty much responsible for generating all of your own artifacts for using the vendors, and anything that you want to haggle off of Tujin or pick up an extra logbook from Danig, you'll pretty much have to pay for out of your own pocket. If you plan to mostly just sell your drops and not actually use the refresh currencies or run logbooks, then you may find gamblers just the completely better option. It's a higher initial investment, but it will give you the most return that you can sell to other players. In either case, definitely try to get 20% on each watchstone if you can, which combined with Secrets of the Stone will give you an overall increase of about 100 to their respective properties, or excuse me, 100%. You should always be rolling maps and logbooks for quantity. I haven't done exhaustive tests on this. I can't prove yet that map quantity influences your drop rate. But on the off chance that it does, you'll want to have done it. And second, it still just gives you all sorts of drops, right? Like not everything, not all the value you're going to get in a map has to come from Expedition if you're running it. You can get, all sorts of other things from different Atlas passives or different Scarabs, just whatever you may actually be running, right? You can get map drops, just general currency, all sorts of great stuff. So juice your maps as much as you can. You'll feel better for having done it. Obviously, this means things like sextants, sacrifice fragments, your scarabs of choice, chisels when the map is white, and then a manageable set of mods from an Alk or Chaos, and then a Vol Orb to top it all off. Not everything will boost your logbook and artifact drops, but putting in that extra investment will really help you with sustain and just feeling good about your returns over time. Speaking of, let's get into a map and talk about actually running encounters. Running map expeditions is the bare minimum thing that you actually need to do to get profit out of expeditions. As alluded to before, there are two main goals that you'll need to choose between when running expedition. Either you plan to sell most or all of your vendor refresh currencies on logbooks, or you plan to actually run your own logbooks and use your currencies. You can do a mix of both of these, of course, if you only want to focus on certain vendors, but the main difference is kind of the overarching approach that you'll take and the time investment necessary to kind of get the value out of these. When running logbooks, you won't be interacting with or progressing your atlas in terms of the Conqueror tracks and Maven invitations. So if you value things like Conquerors, Cirrus, and Maven encounters, you may wish to choose more of a seller mindset rather than a runner mindset. If you just want to get as much as possible out of Expedition, then the runner mindset is probably for you, and believe me, it's worth it. Now, let's get into the nitty gritty of how an Expedition encounter actually works. While you're running a map, you'll find one of the four Kalguran merchants, Danig, Tujin, Gwenin, and Rog, in the middle of a bunch of markers. There are four types of markers: chest markers, monster markers, runic monster markers, and remnants. The little chest flags are the chest markers. The smaller skulls that you'll see on the ground are regular monster markers. The larger, more ornate skulls are runic monster markers, and the big blocky things with the modifiers above them are remnants. When you are close to the marked area, you'll have the ability to place explosives using the UI element or your League interface hotkey. Explosives have a placement range that is tethered at first to the detonator next to the merchant who you find, and then to wherever the previous explosive in the chain is placed. The explosives always form a single chain that detonates in the sequence that you place them. Any markers that are in range of a given explosive will be unearthed when you actually run the encounter and are designated by a green shimmer. When you hit chest markers, monster markers, and runic monster markers with an explosive, they inherit Any modifiers applied by remnants that were hit by that explosive, and any remnants hit by previous explosives in the sequence. Remnants hit by future explosives will not apply backwards. To say that another way, when you hit a remnant with an explosive, it will apply its modifiers to anything hit by that same explosive and anything hit by subsequent explosives. This is the mechanic of Expedition. We cannot stress enough that if you understand how explosive sequences work, then you have the fundamental knowledge required to master Expedition. The rest is practice. Now, what prioritizing when placing our explosives in maps? Both sellers and runners will want to optimize toward two things: logbook drops and vendor refresh currency drops. Runners may also situationally need to mix in some extra artifact drops to help with sustaining vendor use. Logbooks drop from runic monsters. The only way to get logbooks other than from runic monsters is from Danig's vendor offerings, and even then they're uncommon. In order to get more logbook drops, we want to focus on tagging as great a number of runic monster markers as possible and with as many bonuses to logbook quantity as remnants will allow. On to vendor refresh currencies, Danig's burial medallions and Tujin's exotic coinages are the most valuable currencies, with Gwennon's Ostrigali and Rog's scrap metal lagging quite far behind. Generally, killing lots of monsters and opening lots of chests will give you good returns on currencies, so prioritize good coverage, pack size, and item quantities for these, as well as additional currency items where available. Now, I'd like to take a brief pause to talk about the idea of mathematically correct placement. Yes, I know it sounds like a complete meme, and to some degree it is a meme, but I promise there's more here than meets the eye. When going for logbook drops, we actually have a very easy way to determine what explosive placements are best for generating drops, even when we have complex layouts or subpar positions of runic monster markers. The whole concept is simple. We can manually count the expected value of each explosive, or sometimes each runic monster marker instead if you prefer, based on any remnant modifiers that might be applied to it. Then all we have to do is keep a tally of the expected value, either in chat or just in our heads or what have you. And when we finish placing our explosives, we just see what the number is. If the layout is awkward, we can mentally imagine a different sequence and see if that happens to produce better results. How much you do this and how many different sequences you try out per encounter is up to you. As you practice more and more, the common trends will become second nature. Now, let's take a look at logbooks. What contributes to the value of a logbook? All logbooks are map-like items that have a few destinations listed on them. Each destination includes a faction related to one of the Kelgaran merchants, a special expedition-only zone layout, and some number of implicit modifiers. For factions, we're really happy to see Black Scythe Mercenaries and Knights of the Sun for Tujin and Danig respectively. Whichever faction is on the logbook will determine for what vendor any refresh currencies that drop will be. Since exotic coinages and burial medallions are the most valuable, logbooks that correspond to those vendors are most valuable to sell and run. Logbooks can roll with either 2 or 3 implicit modifiers on each destination. 3 mod logbooks aren't guaranteed to be more valuable than 2 mod logbooks, but due to the variable nature of logbook implicits, it's more likely for a 3 mod logbook to have overall more valuable mods than a 2 mod logbook. Usually the most valuable implicit that you can find on a logbook is the one that guarantees a boss in the destination, especially if it's for a preferred faction. Number of explosives and explosive placement range both give you more control over your rewards and getting good sequence, but they don't really do too much if you already understand mostly how to do it and you have a good sense of the layout that you're going into. That said, don't sleep on them, they're not bad to have. Remnants with additional suffix is also generically useful. Increased remnants and increased runic monsters both help with generating extra value, and if you need artifacts for your Tujin or Danik purchases, then it's perfectly fine to prefer artifact implicits as well. Beyond that, extra excavated chests having twice as many items are reasonable. We prefer the monster-based things for the most part, but if you happen to like chests, maybe you're running multiple different types of content, you need blueprints, etc., it's fine to pick those up as well. Speaking of bosses, they also drop more items per remnant that is affecting them. And this is a separate bonus that scales in tandem with what the individual remnants affecting them might do. This really helps to juice the rewards from bosses in logbooks and is a major contributor to how valued the implicit for a guaranteed boss is. So, let's say we've got a good logbook roll with a nice faction and some good implicits. There are two important steps we can take to get more value out of this before we run it. The first is to use Blessed Orbs, and the second is to split the logbook using a Phenomenal Plagued Arachnid Beastcraft. Because logbook implicits are implicit modifiers, we can roll them using Blessed Orbs. Take a look at the implicits for the destination you may want to run, and use Blessed Orbs until you have a decent roll, perhaps 75% or better for each range that you care about. Additionally, we can go to the menagerie and use the Phenomenal Plagued Arachnid Beastcraft recipe to split the logbook. This creates an extra copy of the logbook with the same implicits and applies the split tag to both logbooks, preventing either from being split again. Be aware that prices for the beast change often and depending on time of day, so keep in mind that it is an extra upfront investment and that you need to get enough value out of the second logbook to make that investment worth it, though I promise you pretty much always will. By sowing these seeds, we can set ourselves up to reap lots of extra value and therefore profit out of our logbooks. So, once we've got our logbooks ready and rolled with a decent alch or maybe some light chaos spam, we're ready to run. Looking at our implicits, we can have a rough idea of what kinds of things we might be able to focus on for starters. Or our destination zone might have a specific reward type that we are interested in. It's fine to use these as hints on what to grab, but we do more harm than good by trying to force things based on the destination, rather than just seeing what shows up in the actual zone itself. Even with lots of explosives and knowledge on how to place them, it's a good idea to understand what is most likely to produce good results when setting explosives in a logbook. As we enter the zone, we can look at the minimap and see the big picture of where the remnants and chests will be, as well as underground areas and a boss if present. We want to move around the map and see what the various remnants in the zone have rolled so that we can set up profitable sequences with our explosives. As a reminder, remnants apply their effects to everything hit by the same explosive and all explosives after that in the sequence. Therefore, we want to scout out any easy to reach and powerful remnants to roll their value over into the rest of the logbook. Additionally, if we have a boss, then we get extra value out of hitting remnants before tagging that boss. Things that we're looking for include runic monsters are duplicated. You can only have one of these. Multiple dupes don't stack, but it literally just duplicates your runic monsters. It's just straight up a 100% more runic monsters for any that you tag with or after that explosive. So if you find those and it's not too far out of the way on the map, definitely consider pathing towards that first. Additionally beneficial things are just anything that increases your quantity or particular drops from runic monsters. Anything that increases pack size is nice, or maybe you just want a bunch of scarabs, etc., and so you go for those too. Really, it'll depend on what you want out of the zone, but definitely take a good look at what's around and then try to set up a path accordingly. Additionally, for Atlas passives, just to quickly run over what we have, all of the minor passives give you a chance to get expedition encounters, which is nice if you're not using Scarabs, but since we are going to be using Scarabs the majority of the time that we're running expedition for profit, you pretty much can just ignore these and just treat it as attacks on your points. Distinguished Demolitionist here just helps your explosives. Basically, we get some extra explosives to play with and some more coverage, which is really good for tagging juicy remnants and dense packs and things like that. Over here, we have Buried Knowledge. This is the key point that we are working with. If you're going to take anything, like if you're going to do some other strategy that uses 3 points in Lyra and you're just committing, or excuse me, 6 points in Lyra and you're just committing 4 to an expedition strategy, take Buried Knowledge. Increased quantity of expedition logbooks, increased number of runic monster markers. They multiply together. Like they effectively just juice the heck out of your expected drop rate for logbooks. Very worthwhile node. Because I'm an enthusiast, I also grab Ancient Writings. It just gives us more remnants to work with, as well as chances for extra suffixes, which we can actually take a look at now. For instance, right here, I'm going to ignore this one most likely because immune to curses is bad for my build. I'm playing a spider occultist here, and so curses are important. But you can see it has two suffixes, right? Increased quantity of items in chests, and expedition chests have an additional rare weapon by chance. And you can actually see a few of these notes have multiple suffixes, which is really nice, and that's just extra value. Always great to see. Now, let's actually take a look and read and see what we have and how we want to juice this. So just running around, we're mostly looking at suffixes here. Obviously, we're going to ignore this immune to curse prefix because we don't like it. There aren't really too many things that this build can't do, but that's one that we don't like too much. Rarity we can safely ignore. Item quantity we will definitely pick up. Plus, there's also some great runic monster density here, so we're probably going to start going this way. Over here is mostly chests. There is a logbook over here. So this is notable. Basically, the way to think about increased quantity of expedition logbooks, right, is that by default, because of our Scarab, we're getting an increased number of monster markers, but we're not getting any bonuses to logbooks off of the Scarab. But on our Atlas passives here, we do get the increased quantity already. So each of these runic monster markers, mathematically, you can think of these as being worth 1.5 each, right? And so these three together by default, without any remnant modifiers, are worth 4.5 kind of abstractly logbook drops, if you will. They won't drop that many, but it's a way to kind of tally up the total value of what you're seeing. If we grab this extra quantity here, we're going to be looking at 100% increased quantity of expedition logbooks dropped by runic monsters. Because of that, the value, if we were to path first to that node and then over here, these would actually be worth 6. Now, you do have to take in mind that you are pathing with extra explosives, right? If I were to try to run right out here and just tag this on the very edge, I will get another thing down here, but it won't matter because ward is basically nothing against this build. Now we'll see that we have the extra quantity here. And it was actually a pretty close drop. We don't have to path all the way out here to pick up the node. We can just tag it with the edge of the circle here. And this is very important for efficient placement. So now if we look, we actually can path all the way over here in one go and place this single explosive to hit the quantity and to hit all 3 of these skulls, which is really, really nice. It only cost us one of our explosives, but it's going to juice the rest of these runic monsters, and that's fantastic. So now we have our next big bit of quantity and monster markers up this way. I actually should have gone over here first. I didn't realize there was an extra one over here, but that's okay because we have 5 explosives. We have a lot of wiggle room here. So actually I can just jump over here, grab this. Who cares about pathing? Pathing is a meme. We have tons of explosives. And so I can grab that right there, grab this quantity right here, and then just drop right in the middle of this fat stack and get all of this value. Again, good layouts with lots of central positioning enable really easy placement, and we've still got two whole explosives to work with. I could tag the entire thing if I wanted to. I'm not going to bore you to death, so we'll just go ahead and pop it now as a quick demo, and let's see what we're doing. We're clearing, kind of starting on one side of the expedition, and then moving in as we go. These monsters will generally get pretty juicy. We're actually starting not at the beginning of our chain. We're kind of closer to the end here. Because of just the order in which I approached from the portal. But as we can see, we're getting lots of good clear here, a lot of essences in fact, but no logbooks yet. But that's all right. You're not ever guaranteed to get a logbook. It's all about raising that expected value. And that's kind of why I emphasize this numerical approach to thinking about your runic monsters. As we can see, I'll just turn off the filter real quick. We didn't really get any logbooks, and that's all right. But we killed lots of runic monsters, right? We had a cluster of 4 up here. These are all worth double because of our increased quantity, not to mention the map quant as well. So these guys were worth 6. These guys were worth 8. That's effectively an index of 14, right, for the expected kind of multiplier on the drop rate for whatever the true drop rate of a logbook is. And that's really the goal in maps, right? You just want to do as much as you can to boost the expected drop rates of your logbooks, right? Remember, order is everything. Go for the the important remnants first if they're not too far away, and then just try to hit as many runic monsters as you can to increase those chances.
So let's run one of those logbooks. So what I like to do is roll it up for decent amount of quantity. To me, that means about 70 plus. So I just use an elk and I chaos spam it, try to go for roughly 70 plus quant on there. I'm just looking at that top line, nothing else. There we go, 74 plus. Because I'm in softcore, because my build can really run almost every single mod in the game. That's actually a nice thing about my Bane Occultist build. The only thing that we can't run is Immune to Chaos. Immune to Curses is a little annoying, but we can run everything except for Immune to Chaos if we really need to. So, and because I'm in softcore, I don't care if I die. I got 6 portals. I'm going to use them. I'm going to roll this as high as possible because I want to get as much currency as I can out of this. We go over to Danig. We put this puppy in, and we want to make sure, we mouse over. We want to run the bluffs. We make sure we click the bluffs here. This is the one that we want. Open, and let's get in there. All right, so very first thing you do when you open up a new logbook is look for a skull. If there's a skull, that means that is a boss fight, and the boss fights are the #1 thing you want to prioritize. You want to set up your remnants so that you have as much increased quantity of items dropped and artifacts dropped and all that type of stuff, because you want the best drops possible from that boss. We do not have a skull here, so there's no boss fight. So what I do after that is I take a look at the underground areas. I do like those. Those are those blue caves right here. That's that blue cave right there. And then I just generally look at the density of where I'm going to find the most stuff. So we can see it's pretty dense here. We do have the underground area, so I'm going to go for that. Very dense over here, and then moderately dense up here. We have currently, let's move me over here. We have currently 20 explosives to place. And we can see that we didn't really have like additional like radius on the explosives. We can see that we actually have the default one, but what we did get is 50% increased explosive placement range. So what that means is we can place an explosive and really get very, very far to place the next one. So you can see that we can do some really big stretches if we want to try to, hit some of the greatest hits around here. You can use Shift V by default, or just click this back arrow to get your explosives back. That's really, really nice. And then we kind of just start going. So as sailKite said earlier regarding the perfect mathematically correct way to place, I'm a little bit more touchy-feely, a little fuzzy about things. What he said is correct, but you do not have to perfectly min-max or optimize when you're playing this game. Just try to get like the best average, the best bang for your buck for what's fun for you. How much time do you want to spend in the logbook versus, optimizing the rewards and all that type of stuff. So I will do usually one quick little pass through everything. And the thing that I'm looking for on all of the remnants, so I'm just looking on the mini map right now and running through everything here and seeing if anything really catches my eye. Things that do catch my eye are quantity of artifacts. We want a lot of artifacts. Those are kind of like the fuel currency that you use to, buy things from Tujin, buy things from Gwenin or Rog. So more artifacts is good. And those are something that you can't buy from other players. That's not the refresh currency. That's the stuff that just automatically picks up, and you gotta earn that yourself. So artifacts can be very, critical to making sure you just don't run out as you're rolling things. In addition to that, quantity of items dropped by monsters, that is just straight up more quant. You kill monsters, they drop more stuff. That is, to me, kind of the generally best thing that we're going to go for. And then after that, I kind of just look for anything that looks really exciting. I'm not going to care about rare armor items. I'm not leveling up. I don't care about experience right now. We got more artifacts here. Fracture items, it's cool. It can be nice to hit fracture items. Maybe you get really, really lucky. It's kind of just, a little roll of the dice right there. Pack size is nice. Pack size is basically the same thing as increased quantity. More monsters, more drops. More artifacts by monsters, more pack size. These are all really, really good things. More pack size. And, you know, as sailKite said before, the order that we go in is very important, right? So we want to hit that additional pack size, additional quantity, all of those things, because if we hit them earlier, that will then affect everything that happens afterwards. So, you know, I saw those really juicy things on the left side. That has me thinking, maybe let's go to the left side first and then loop around to the right. Now, remember, I do want to make it down to this chest down here, or this underground area, just because sometimes they can be really, really juicy. It can be like a free 3 to 5 chests, maybe even a sarcophagus, which has like a really big loot explosion when you open it. So I am thinking, I didn't really like anything on the right side that I saw. There was just nothing particularly interesting. I'm seeing a lot of pack size, a lot of monster quant here, and because I know I have that 50% increased range of explosive placement, I just want to, I know that I can stretch all the way around. So let's just, let's see what we can do here. And then in addition to that, as always, as when you run the expeditions inside a map, the runic monsters are the big boys. Those are the ones that are going to drop the really, really good loot. Chests are kind of not as important. So if you are pushing up the quantity of items from monsters, you know, the really good currency loot from runic monsters, make sure you hit these big skulls. These are the important things. The little skulls are just like little guys, you know, they're just regular monsters. These big skulls, these are the things that give you the good loot. Don't miss these things. So I am going to start off just going to the left and looking for this pack size. I like this pack size a lot. And then I just kind of move my cursor around and just see, like, sometimes you can kind of like hit multiple things with the edge of the green circle. I can't do that here. So I'm actually going to prioritize hitting as many little things that I can highlight here. So I'm just going to go through. I want more pack size, quantity of artifacts. That's good for me. I'm just trying to highlight as many things as possible. When I do select something, I want to double check that nothing really, really scary is here. This 20% skull is scary, but I don't really care about dying. I'm playing softcore. If you're playing hardcore, this is a very scary mod. Do be aware of that. So unfortunately, we can't hit all 3 of these at once. It can be worth trying to get that. So I'm doing like a little bounce between these 2 things. I can't hit them. So we're just going to hit these and then go up, continue going up this way.
When I'm ready,
Additional essences is nice. If I can get both of these at once, I can. I would do that, but I can't. So let's just try to hit this. Additional fracture item is okay, but more important, you know, I'm down to 16 of these things left. I'm just going to try to stretch around and hit the really good things. I can hit that runic monster right there and this at the same time. I'm going to do that. Let's just do, all right, we got more items dropped by monsters. Very good. So we want to hit that right there. Let's see how far we can stretch this. Looks like that's kind of the cap. You can kind of just use your mouse to push it to the edge. See how far you can push it. Highlight as much as possible. Try to get this decently optimized. How much can I hit here? This looks pretty decent. And then let's loop down. Influenced item, additional gem. Don't really care about that. Pretty low value. Let's just loop on down here. We have 11 left, and we need to make it down to that chest. Let's double check what's on the outside here. Pack size, quantity of artifacts. We like that. Let's see how far we can stretch this down. Can we hit just the edge there? That's really, really good. We have both of these at the same time. And now we want this juicy little placement there. This is a really juicy one. We can hit like nice little poppy things here. Very nice. We have 8 explosives left. 40% increased quantity from monsters. Very good. Remember, that's one of our favorite things. Let's just try to make sure we can highlight as much as possible here. Enchanted items, pretty low value. I don't really care about that. Let's just see how much we can highlight. All right, this is looking pretty good. Pretty good. All right, I'm going to prioritize the essence right there. We got the underground area hit. Let's just try to find some runic skulls now. We have 6 placements left. We still we went straight to the left and we looped all the way around with that increased placement range. We don't have to burn explosives. So I actually really like the placement range. We don't end up burning explosives in kind of dead zones. We can really stretch to the juicy stuff. All right. And then whenever you do press V again, see my mouse is over here, it's highlighting the stuff on the right side of the screen. This is still going to highlight. So that's, you can kind of move your mouse around and see the stuff that, you might have missed previously. Just make sure that certain things are hit. All right. All right. Let's just highlight as much as we can here. All right. Looking good. Move my mouse here. This is a juicy one. We got really good things. We got 2 big skulls. We got some map items. We got some extra little bonus pops right here. The heist, this is a heist thing, this red triangle. This drops like a blueprint almost every time and a ton of markers. Even if you're not running heist, it's really just good value for something that you can bulk sell on TFT. All right. Rarity of items. I generally don't prioritize rarity. That's okay. We got 2 left. Let's just try to get some greatest hits. Get as many skulls as we can. Ooh, can we get the skull and this pack size at the same time? Doesn't look like it. All right. Try to get a big enough pack size. Get as many skulls there. And I'm feeling, we did a full loop. We just did a full loop. That's looking pretty good to me. All right. So if we're happy about that, always, I mess this up all the time. So don't feel bad if you mess this up. Before you click detonate, in a map, even good to do it in a map, but even more importantly, if you're in your 40 to 60 chaos worth logbook, make sure you mouse over this little icon right here next to the detonator thing, and make sure that everything looks a-okay to you. So I'm just scrolling down. The 2 things for my build that I worry about are immune to chaos, which is yellow. I wish I could make immune to curses yellow, but I can't. That would be a nice, please, GGG. Give me that ability to customize these. So for me, nothing here is particularly scary. Sometimes they can crit. Sometimes I'll die once in a while, but I'm not too worried about that. My build is actually pretty darn tanky, so we should be okay. And yep, it's all looking good. As you can see at the bottom, we have 125% pack size. We have 100% quantity of artifacts, 80% increased quantity of items dropped by monsters, extra XP, stuff like that, extra artifacts, extra Legion splinters, enchanted items, all that. Really, really good stuff. So once you're happy with that, click detonate and let's go. And the nice thing about this is you can kind of just like take your time. It's going to be, increasing difficulty as it goes around, but you can just kind of follow the path. You don't have to. You can clear backward. You can just sit here and wait for it to explode all of them and clear backwards if you want. But I kind of just like to follow the path, open the chest as it goes, pick up the loot.
When I'm ready, and not before. I need more mana.
So as I said before, Bane is absolutely exceptional at doing this. Because of Profane Bloom, and because we can just be at range, we can just stay back, pop the monsters. We don't have to get close to them. Just go through, open things up, get our loot nice and clean. If I want to get a little spicy, oh, we got a little bit of scary monsters, but we keep getting these burial medallions. That's like the big thing that we're going for. That's what's really going to be giving some great value from Danig. Before going underground, I do generally clear all of the above ground. But yeah, if I want to get spicy, Vol Blight, Flame Dash forward twice, and then I can clear effectively 2 screens there. Pretty nice to speed it up a little bit if I want to. I don't recommend doing that. That is kind of a spicy play, but can be fun to push the difficulty a little bit. A little spice of life there. It can be useful to check the edges sometimes. Some zones will have explodable walls that will actually open up, little corridors that have a couple chests in them. So those can be really nice to be on the lookout for as you're placing your explosives on the edge. And then we can go into the underground areas here and just clear them up. And they'll often have, I've seen some have 5 to 6 chests. Can be really, really nice. Good quant to just kill some extra additional monsters here. All right. And then you can just open your portal and get on out. Nice, relaxing, casual little logbook. And the way that I look at this is we got 5 raw chaos, 12 burial medallions. I effectively, the way that I think about it is the exotic coins from Tujin. To me, I think I get like 10 chaos or so on average from a single Tujin reroll. So I value each exotic coin at 10 chaos. And because Danig is kind of like the fundamental fuel for all of the other NPCs, and he can even give you additional logbooks, I actually value each burial medallion at closer to 15 chaos each. At least that's myself personally. So we're looking at 15 for me. The way that I'm looking at this is 15 times 12 chaos, and then 5 additional flat chaos there. You know, we got some Timeless Templar splinters. These are really, really good currency as well. And then just a bunch of smattering of other random things, which is pretty nice. So to me, this was an averagely profitable logbook, absolutely worth the splitting, and it was very, very nice for me. So let's use the burial medallions that we got and interact with the NPCs and just show how the fuel from Danig can kind of trickle into the other NPCs and how you can interact with them. So the way Danig works is he is the core, the foundation of how it all works. So all of the NPCs, they have these refresh currencies. Those are the things that let you refresh their inventory and interact with whatever their special deals are. And then they have the artifacts, and that's kind of like the cost that it takes to interact and buy the things from their inventories. So if we do a refresh from Danig, the way that he works is he always has the basic artifacts. You can exchange his artifacts for the ones to the other NPCs, Gwenin, Tujin, and Rog. But he will also have special deals so you can exchange at a better rate for yourself here. So for only 0.7 of the Greater Sun artifacts, I can get Greater Broken Circle, which is the Gwenin artifact here. So I'm going to buy these because this is actually the one that I want from Gwenin. And then he also will sell logbooks and refresh currencies for those vendors. So let's buy some of those as well. And let's just go through these really, really quickly. So I don't really care about any of these, but he can also give us really, really nice logbooks. This is 50 Grand Sun artifacts. We have plenty of those. We'll buy that. We're going to split this, and then we can just use that for fuel for even more. Once you get enough of really good Knights of the Sun logbooks, I have found that if you juice it enough, you can almost self-sustain logbooks and the artifacts and refresh currencies just from Danig, and you almost don't even have to go back to maps. It's pretty wild. So I am not really a Rog guy. I'm skipping the scrap metal. I know people really, really like him. So if you like him, go for it. I'm not going to be able to instruct you on how to use him, but you know, he does exist in the game, and I've seen people make really good currency with him. Now, I want to double check what I got. I got a little bit of Lesser Black Scythe. I have a decent amount of common and decent amount of everything else. The graders are a little low as well on Tujin. So when I'm looking at these deals here, so the Lessers, 922 at a 0.7. I have a lot of Lessers here. I don't mind taking that deal. I just want to shore up my Tujin currency because he's my favorite. These are the special deals, as I said before. We'll grab the Astragallis. I generally will just buy every Astragalli and every exotic coin because that's just, you know, more fuel for more fun. All right, we don't need those. You know, all right, Greater Black Scythe. I have 1,100 of these at a 0.8 ratio. What are my graders at with Tujin? Let's just take a little quick look. 2,200, that's okay. I'm not going to stress. That's not the best deal. It actually will go down to 0.5, which is our best ratio. So just keep on buying these good deals here. And just kind of zip through this really quickly. All right, Lesser Black Scythes at a 0.6. That's pretty good. What's Lesser's looking like here? 2,200. You know what? We actually go through those pretty well, and that's a really good ratio. I have a ton of these. Let's just buy these puppies.
Let's see what else I've
just keep on going. Common Black Scythes at a 0.5 ratio, and I'm kind of low on those. That is a 100%. Just give me all of those. Very, very nice. All right, and that's just the reroll. So that was 13 burial medallions, and as you can see, we can use that to buy the deals. To really shore up the artifact currency for the other guys. We get, you know, the refresh currency, and we can even get logbooks. And I would actually say that like 13 for one logbook and all this is like average or maybe even a little below average. You can do better than this. All right, so for Gwenin, what she does is you can gamble for items. You can buy an item and hope it turns unique. It can be rare, it can become influenced, it can be anything like that. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna be hoping that it turns into a good unique. And what you can do is go to something like this website. I'll link it in the description below, and actually choose the items that look good for you. You know, these are the items that are worth good currency. And then you can click generate string and actually create a string that, you know, gives you the things that might be worth rolling for. And then you can copy paste that into the highlight items here and kind of go from there. I really only care about leather belts and heavy belts. I kind of just go for broke. I am not the most subtle of Gwendolyn interactors. And she has never given me anything worth more than, you know, like 20 chaos. So like this, you know, eye level 84 hunter in heavy belt. Early league, this could be worth, you know, 50 to 100 chaos easily. You know, eye level 84, pretty good. So early on in the league, she can give you bases that are actually pretty good. But at this point of the league, you know, we're 3 weeks in. I'm really just looking for a headhunter and a mage blood. Let's see if we can get lucky. Not quite lucky. In my experience, she'll give you roughly about a 1 to 50 ratio for uniques here. So every 50 buys, it will turn into a unique. And for me, it's always a bad unique. But I've seen enough highlight clips on YouTube of people getting really, really lucky. So, you know, you have the stuff. Why not just use it? Well, that's what we got. And then I just sell everything because I just don't care. Not going to use this stuff at this point of the league. All right. And then my favorite is Tujin. So we got 13 exotic coins. Remember, we ran one logbook, Knights of the Sun logbook, right? We got 13 exotic coins from talking to Danig, doing those rerolls. And now we're going to take those. We also bought, you know, we bought some currency from this as well. We can actually use all of that just to fuel Tujin, and we don't even have to go into maps or anything else. Knights of the Sun really is like the top level that can fuel everything else. And the way Tujin works is you click on something that you want, and then you can actually haggle with him. And he will, you know, if you go low enough, he'll give you a counter offer, and he'll give you a range for that counter offer. And generally, if you just stay in the middle of that, you're fine. You're good to go. If you give him enough of a low, well, he actually took the low bet there. If we go like very, very low over and over again, he'll actually take the item. And so if you care about the item, don't be too crazy. What I usually do, you can use your mouse wheel up and down as well. I usually will go to about 60% or so, and he'll give you a counter offer, and then I'll go to the middle of that, and then you're just like 100% of the time. You don't have to worry about it. You know, if something is really, really expensive and I really, really want it, you know, maybe I'll try to min-max it, but generally I just use the mouse wheel a little bit, scroll down a little bit, and I'm good to go. And then from there, I just kind of go through this and, you know, see things that might look intriguing to me. I do try to stay aware of the type of currency. The lessers are the most common, and then, you know, the commonality goes down. I actually find I get more graders than commons. You know, common, I actually find most of the things I buy are for common artifacts. So when I see something going for common, like a good chunk of common, right? Like what this 10 orbs of fusing for 128 commons, to me, that's not worth it, right? Like a common to me is like this currency I'm going to go through a lot because most of the things I buy are for commons. So I do try to be relatively conservative here. So we can see that the Fragment of Purification is for 14 chaos. Also, this is Awakened PoE trade. This is what I use to price things. I press Control D, and it shows me the price. So for 14 chaos, for 62 grand size, and I can get this lower, right? For 38, that's worth 14 chaos to me. That is absolutely worth 14 chaos. And then we just keep on re-rolling, and let's hope that we can get a nice deal here. The way that I look at it is, on average, I think that that's a little too rich for my blood. You know, you gotta be a little conservative, right? Like the bigger stacks, he will charge a premium for those. So, you know, be aware of how much you're actually spending here. Like that number is important to pay attention to as you're going through here.
I don't think so. Seems reasonable.
All right. Yeah, like this might, if I was running heist or cared about selling rogue markers, this could be worth it for me, but I'm not going to bother right now.
Always a pleasure.
And then just keep on chugging through this. It can be good to check jewels and gems. You can get a 21-23 gem. I've seen really, really well-rolled jewels. An Ancient Orb is currently going for 11 chaos. Is that worth 490 of my lesser black size? And I'm kind of low on that. Not to me. You know, for me, it's be conservative here. Like, this is worth 10 chaos already, right? And this is way, way less. Do try to get a mental awareness of, you know, what these things are actually worth to you. 5 chaos here.
Okay.
And the way that I think of it is basically on average, I think we're well below average on these rerolls, but I do find that on average, I am getting about 10 chaos per Tujin reroll. This is a pretty nice drill. I'm not going to bother buying it or trying to sell it. You know what? I am. Why not? Someone might actually care about that. Keep on rerolling, and you can just kind of use your mouse wheel, try to just go quickly. You eventually kind of get into a rhythm, and you get awareness of what you value, and just take your time. You learn it, become really comfortable, and you can kind of just like speed run Tujin eventually. And it's kind of just like a fun meditative exercise, just like pulling really, really good money out of there. Oh, there we go. Twisted Distant Park Memory. Look at that. 65 chaos for 150 black grands. Don't mind if I do. Only spent 90. Bam, 65 chaos right there. Pretty good. That's a nice find. He sold me a bunch of Cortexes in the past 2 leagues, actually. I think I found more Cortexes from Tujin than from Zana or from drops. All right, keep on going. We got 2 more rerolls. All right, there we go. 4 Exalted Shards. Pretty nice. My best single pull from him, Rusted Expedition Scarabs are going for like 8 to 10 chaos in bulk right now. The price is going up. People are catching on. So, this is a really, really good deal for us right now. This is just more fuel for making more money.
Shiny coins.
All right, and last reroll. Polished Legion. How much is this worth? 3 chaos. Yeah, not too valued this league. And I am a big fan of stack decks. I like opening them. I play for the fun. I play for the chance of getting something really, really good. But, each one of those is roughly a chaos. If you sell those in bulk, you can actually get more than that if you sell in large enough bulk. Towards the end of the league, stack decks will sell for like 1.5 each or even 2 if you get really lucky. So just, this was 12 coin rerolls. We got, not even paying attention to this stuff. Roughly, we're probably approaching, 160, 170 chaos right here in just 13 rerolls. That's pretty good. And we didn't even run black side anything. That's just from the rerolls from Danig. That's pretty good. And I would say this is really roughly average for what I found from Tujin. And I've done hundreds and hundreds of rerolls. So just really, really good, conservative, great way to make money. Oh man, that was awesome. Those are a lot of great tips. Yo, thank you so much for this, sailKite.
Yeah, I'm honestly just really glad to help out. Expedition is pretty much my favorite mechanic, rest in peace synthesis. But now that I've got something fun to run, I've been running it like all the time, nonstop, and I'm glad to share what I've learned with everyone.
I said that was a chunky one, so hopefully this answers the many, many questions that people have had and kind of shows that what you might have been missing when it comes to running Expedition and making sure that you're getting the currency for the time that you invested. It's just been pretty awesome seeing the interest in, it's a shame that, Expedition came with 3.15 because it is a really, really cool mechanic and it's incredibly rewarding. And I'm excited to see you guys learn it and grow with it and get really rich and buy all your Mage Bloods and getting and having a great time in 3.16. So let me know in the comments below how it went for you guys, if there's any other questions that you guys had. And thanks for hanging out and learning with us here. And I'll see you guys next time.